Yes guys, what is happening? Welcome back to Kop Noise TV. So, we're on an international break at the moment and there's been a lot more going on around the club than what I expected this week. Obviously recently, in the last 24 hours, the club have announced that ticket prices are going up. It's not a shock, but it's a disappointment given the fact that, you know, the club not so long ago announced record revenues, and all of a sudden it's like, alright, well, we're also going to kind of sting the fans for more money. I could do a whole show on that, but we're not here about that today. We're here about one thing and one man in particular, and that is Mohamed Salah. And the news broke earlier on in the week. We saw Mo's video sat in what is, I presume, his house in front of his bespoke trophy cabinet with all his accolades in all his glory, and emotional Mo Salah made the announcement that he's going to be leaving Liverpool at the end of the season. And I've got to say, I for one, I'm gutted if I'm honest. It's just another one of those players that kind of came together through the Klopp era, you know, from like 2017 up to maybe like the 2019 when we won the Champions League. And I'm sure many of you have seen the photo of the team that played Tottenham in the Champions League final, and obviously all the players that have now left greyed out. It's sad, but listen, it happens, it's life, it's football, things go on, players move on, life goes on, and we just we have to deal with it. But I'm sad that Mohamed Salah is leaving Liverpool, and he will probably finish his career somewhere else. But listen, what a career he's had, and I wanted to do a video particularly around something a little bit different. So I've watched loads and loads of videos this week on people praising Mohamed Salah, going through his individual records, which there is so many of that, you know, you could be kind of going on forever about what he's achieved in the game, collectively as a team and individual. But I want to focus. I wanted to tailor this video a little bit different, because I've been going to Anfield now for 30 plus years, so I've kind of watched the whole of Mohamed Salah's Liverpool career. I've been going to Anfield every single week, so I've seen it firsthand. And I like to think that I've got quite a good eye for football, not just kind of the goals, the assists, you know, the kind of like the headline things. I like to see what, you know, the things that kind of go on in the background, you know, the build-up to play, the pattern of play and things like that. And there's some of Mohamed Salah's game that I don't think personally gets talked about enough. Now listen, here are some of the things. I'm going to start with, obviously, some of Mohamed Salah's honours, collectively and individually. So, quick run through: 2 Premier Leagues, 1 Champions League, 1 FIFA World Cup, an FA Cup, 2 Carabao Cups, 1 UEFA Super Cup, and a Community Shield, whether you want to class that or not, fair enough. 4 Golden Boots in the Premier League. Only one other player has managed to achieve 4, and that's Thierry Henry, who some class as the best ever Premier League player of all time. Just put that out there. 3 PFA Player of the Year awards. I think he's the only player to do that, to win 3. He was named in the PFA Team of the Year 4 times. 3 times he's been named the Football Writers Player of the Year. So some really big accolades there, you know, coming from his fellow peers and football writers. He was the fastest Liverpool player to reach 100 league goals. He did this in 151 games. This guy's a winger, an attacking winger, and he did it in 151 games to reach 100 league goals. Liverpool's top scorer in European football, 53 goals, with 48 of them, I believe, came in the Champions League. He's the top African goal scorer in the Premier League, the most Premier League goals in a 38-game season with 32. The most Premier League goals and assists in a 38-game season, 47. Sees 29 goals and 18 assists, which I think he did last season, which was one of his best seasons ever individually. And last stat but not least, I wanted to get this one in as a little dig to kind of the Man U fans. He's the only visiting player to get a hat-trick at Old Trafford. Hats off to Mohamed Salah for all that. And listen, they're just the highlights of what he's achieved. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many other individual accolades that this guy has done that I'm not even gonna go through, because like I say, I would be probably here for about an hour rambling on some of the records that Mohamed Salah holds. But as I say, in this video I wanted to do something a little bit different to probably a load of the videos that you've already watched this week. And while the conversation will go on forever and a day about where Mohamed Salah sits in terms of Premier League and Liverpool GOATs, I want to focus on some things that maybe not every football fan will give Mohamed Salah credit for. And there's 3 topics in particular that I want to focus on. And here's the first one. It's his physicality. Now, out of the many goals that Salah has scored for Liverpool, there have been several occasions where he's no stranger to whipping his top off and literally flexing that ridiculous physicality that he has got. And anyone who half keeps themselves in decent shape will know the dedication that he must put himself through on a daily basis, which will include his diet, his training regimes, all that kind of stuff. He must be so dedicated to look in the shape that he does. And Liverpool have often used this to their advantage. So people who watch Liverpool on a weekly basis, you will know that Virgil van Dijk often pings a diagonal ball out to Mo Salah, and Salah may have a man on his back, he may be facing his own goal. He brings the ball down. His touch is impeccable 9 times out of 10. He can kill a ball stone dead with a guy on his back. And this is a credit to Mo and a part of his game, which, the whole kind of reason that I'm doing this video is because I don't think, he gets enough credit for this. Because he's not a big guy by any stretch of the imagination, but he's so physically strong. He can hold off his man while pulling a ball out of the air, bring someone else into play, turn on the ball. He's just unbelievable at doing this. And let's not forget as well, many teams double up on Salah. So he could be doing this with potentially 2 defenders, 2 opponents round him. And for me, there's not many players in world football, not necessarily just in the Premier League. There's not many players in world football that I think can hold off defenders and the touch. Sadio Mane was another one that was very good at this, and whether it's something potentially that Liverpool used to do collectively in-house with their wingers, because obviously Mane and Salah played a lot together. But yeah, just the sheer physicality of Salah and the strength for such a small guy to be able to shrug off defenders. There was the famous goal against Everton when it was snowing, where I think he got the ball at his feet. Is it Ashley Williams or someone comes to defend him? And he literally, if you can't remember it, go and watch this goal back. There's highlights all over YouTube and stuff now, where he literally kind of like throws his defender to the ground, pushes them out of the way, and bends the ball in the top bins. That's just a perfect example of how physically strong Salah was. And as I say, I don't think personally he gets enough credit, because the referees didn't give him anything. The guy got fouled multiple times on a weekly basis, and the refs never gave him anything. But he never really got bogged down. He didn't get complained. He wasn't really throwing his arms about too much. He got on with it, and he did his talking on the pitch by scoring and setting up goals for Liverpool. So the second point that I want to make is about how Mo Salah has adapted his game throughout his career at Liverpool. Now, I think it's strongly rumoured, and I don't know whether there's any truth to this, but I believe there is, that when he came to Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp wanted other options. He wasn't necessarily sold on Mohamed Salah. But lucky for us, Liverpool didn't go with those other options. They went with Mohamed Salah, and look, the rest is history. But I think for many of us, we didn't really know that much about Mohamed Salah when he came to Liverpool. Obviously, he had a short stint at Chelsea. He went away, he went to Italy, came back to England, and me personally, I have to say, I have to hold my hands up. I didn't know much about him. All I knew, he was this pacey winger who chipped in with a fair few goals. And look, that's what we got. When Salah came to Liverpool, one thing that kind of stood out, one of his attributes, bigger than anything, was his rapid pace. He was ridiculous over short, small periods. And we all know Father Time it catches up with everyone. You can't get away from it. And this happened to Mo. So when Mo started getting a little bit older, he lost a yard or two of pace. He had to adapt his game, and he knew that he wasn't going to get away from defenders with his pace anymore. He still had the physicality, but he had to change his game, and he became a moments player. So Salah wasn't in the game for 60, 70 minutes of it. He could be out of the game for 60, 70 minutes, but he would pop up with moments, individual brilliance. And the biggest player that I can compare him to with this, and I know people will go mad in the comments and call me stupid, but Lionel Messi used to do this. Lionel Messi used to kind of walk around the pitch. He'd look for spaces, and he'd operate in those spaces, and he'd work in short, sharp bursts towards the back end of his career. And this is what Mohamed Salah did, and he was unbelievable at it. And the biggest example, I think, of this was when Jurgen Klopp left, and I believe he had a conversation with Arne Slot. And this is something that Salah alluded to when I think he did an interview with Gary Neville, and he basically said that Salah knew that he could no longer kind of get up and down the field, but he knew in himself, listen, if you allow me to do and operate in the top final third of the field alone, pretty much, I can go far to winning this club, the Premier League. Arne Slot obviously believed him, and that is exactly what happened. But he's just a testament to the guy that he realised that he could no longer do what he'd been doing for the past kind of 5 or 6 years, if you like. So he had to completely change his game. He had to kind of work for space, work in areas, keep the mind, the mental focus. He could have been out of the game for 80 minutes, but the last 10 minutes is where he come alive, where defenders are getting tired, and Mohamed Salah's like, there's an opportunity. I smell danger. I sense something here. And he provided for Liverpool. And as I say, he pretty much single-handedly kind of dragged Liverpool to a Premier League title last season. And that's something that I think personally he needs to be commended for, because there's plenty of players that haven't been able to adapt their game, should I say. And he's up there for me in world-class brackets. I mentioned Lionel Messi. Cristiano Ronaldo realised that he couldn't be a pacey winger anymore once the pace left, so he turned himself into an elite number 9. Goal-scoring machine. He depended on his movement in the box and people feeding him. That's what Salah did. But Salah could also feed other people as well. And assists was something else that he adapted and brought into his game. He was providing goals. As I say, for others, he got 18 assists last season. Just ridiculous numbers. And he also reinvented how he assisted as well. Over the last couple of seasons, he brought in the outside of left boot. And I'm not saying that he's the only player to ever use the outside of the boot, but people who watch Liverpool every single week, he was crossing a lot with the outside of his boot. Now, players don't do this, but again, Salah had obviously worked on this in training. He'd adapted his game, and I keep using that word, but this is what it's all about. He made himself different to what he was before, and there's only a small pocket of players I think that have been able to do that. Messi's won, Ronaldo's won, Zinedine Zidane did it, Paul Scholes did it. You know, Paul Scholes was like a number 10 when he first came, and then he became a number 8 box-to-box midfielder, and then he dropped back into like the kind of 6 role, if you like, you know, dictating play. Wayne Rooney did it. These are some of the best, and Mo Salah for me fits in that category of the elite best of the best. And last but not least, but personally, the main reason why I think Mo Salah will go down as one of the best, greatest ever Liverpool players of all time is him as a role model. You know, we've talked about his dedication in terms of how he physically is. We've talked about his game on the field. We've commended all his individual accolades and his, you know, the team trophies that he's won. But he was a role model as well, on and off the field, and this for me is one of the main reasons why us as Liverpool fans love Mo. Yes, the goals, yes, the assists, yes, the trophies, but just how he embraced the culture, not only of the club, but of the city as well. And I know there will be people watching this saying to me, how can you talk about embracing the culture of the city? You're not a Scouser. Yes, clearly by my accent, I am not a Scouser, but listen, I've been going to watch Liverpool since I was 7-year-old. I'm 40 in a couple of weeks. So over 30 years I've been going to Liverpool, and you get a sense for the city. Now, whether I've gone there for football, whether I've gone there for work, whether I've gone there socialising, it feels like a home away from home for me. You know, if you embrace Liverpool, Liverpool embraces you, and that's exactly what Mohamed Salah did. You get the sense from his goodbye video when he says that Liverpool is my home, it's the home of my family, it's the home of my children. I believe he even goes and says that his children are Scousers, and this sort of stuff goes a long way with us Liverpool fans. Yes, we love him for the goals, yes, we love him for the assists, but even if that didn't come, even if we didn't win all the trophies with Mohamed Salah, the fact that he embraced the club, he embraced the city, the fact that he works hard on the pitch, that goes a hell of a long way. That is the bare minimum for us as Liverpool fans that we ask for, and Mohamed Salah did all that, so that is why we love him. And the fact that we got to celebrate so many goals, so many assists, so many trophies with him, that's just a bonus, that's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, all the other stuff underneath that's the stuff that we love more than anything as Liverpool fans. And as fans now, you know, we get to see a lot of stuff what goes on kind of behind the scenes. There's so much content out there on social media, on YouTube. You know, the club is always putting out stuff, and Salah's on loads of it. He's the forefront of a lot of this. You see him in the training grounds. He's always sat in the kind of cafe reception area having banter with the guys. He's always chatting to people. He's always in the gym. And again, this is just further examples of how he's embraced the club, and he is just like a figurehead, if you like, for all the other players that kind of come through that door at Melwood and Anfield. So while we will long talk about the legend that is Mo Salah, from goals in Champions League finals to dancing through Man City's defence, from scoring a hat-trick at Old Trafford to firing an absolute rocket in the top bins against Chelsea on my birthday, to helping the team on one of the most memorable European nights with an iconic t-shirt, to sitting in front of an empty Kop with the Premier League title, with all his individual trophies in front of him. I'm sure you can all agree we will all sadly miss Mo Salah, but we all wish him nothing but the best for his future. And also I want to say personally is thank you for the memories, Mo, and you'll never walk alone. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe.